They had 6 250 nugget trays from Chick-fil-A for their food, a selection of low-fat cheese and Sprite, because it's caffeine-free, and that was it. They wouldn't let you dance. Someone put on the Beach Boys, and all the elder Mormons lost their shit and requested that we change the music. So I'm sitting at the table, bored out of my tit, trying to be the life of the party at my table, and I feel 2 hands clamp on my shoulders from behind, and I look up and it's Ben's dad. And he says, "Did you get a chance to look at your video yet?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, just check it out when you can. How do you think it came out?" I said, "Pretty good, I guess." And then he says, "Well, I was going to film, but then I figured you're better with a camera and we didn't really need 2 copies of the same wedding video." And in that moment, my heart sank, because back when the wedding was taking place and I saw him come in with a $3,000 camera, I thought, this is perfect. He can sit down in the front and film the wedding, and I can sneak off to the back and film the funny version of the wedding. And now that's all there is. And I really fucked it up. The bride and groom are not in the video at all till the very end. I'm zooming in on the backs of people's heads. I'm providing commentary about the outlets that are built into the wall and pennies I see on the floor. It's just, something the guys can get together later and have a beer over and laugh at. And now it's the only one. And the only time the bride and groom are in the video is at the end, when the minister says, "You may now kiss the bride." And I filmed them for that. And then they lean in to kiss, and I drop the camera. I just fidget with it like a fuck. This is hilarious. And then when they stop kissing, that's when I brought the camera back up. Now I have to figure out how to make sure that nobody ever finds out that this video exists and not get my ass kicked by 35 Mormons. Because they're Mormons. She had like 15 cousins that looked like BYU linebackers, the kind of guys that think muscles are a substitute for personality. And so I faked a car crash just to get out of showing them the video that day, and then paid one of my friends to lie about the data being corrupted so that nobody would ever find out. But I found out a year ago that video does still exist, and Ben and Janice, his wife, have seen it. And there is actually a bounty on my head now because of it. And you know what the funniest part about this is that's only the second most fucked up thing I've done in front of a group of Mormons. Because if you remember, when I started this, I said that the title was 4 Weddings and a Funeral. This is where it gets bad. One of my ex-friends, I won't say his name so he doesn't have to cry about this later, invited me to come to the funeral of a distant relative he had not seen since he was like 3. And they're all Mormon. So I go to this funeral, and I end up sitting right next to this 80-year-old woman in a wheelchair. I've never seen any of these people before in my life, but I'm sitting there trying to do my best to behave, which is hard for me. And at one point, the eldest son of this woman that died gets on stage, and he's giving his eulogy. And it was right, I'll try my best to imitate it, because I think it sets the mood. He's crying and saying that he really doesn't know what he's going to do with his life anymore, because it was all about taking care of his mom. And he just has this huge hole right here in his chest where his soul used to be. And words can't convey the amount of pain that I feel in my heart because my mother is no longer with us. And he stops and he looks down, and it was just at that moment that the 80-year-old woman in the wheelchair next to me let out the squeakiest fart I have ever heard in my entire life, and I lost it. And I know, I'm a sick, evil fuck, I know that, I accept that, but I couldn't help, you know like when you blow up a balloon, and you try to pinch the balloon off, but you don't quite pinch it all the way, and a little air escapes before you can pinch it all the way closed? That's what it sounded like. And it was so out of place at the time, just 3 seconds of somber silence, and then, and I broke down crying, laughing. Anybody that knows me, when I lose it, I lose all control. I will fall to the ground on my back. I can't move. I had to be dragged out of that funeral by 2 different people because I was causing a scene. And it wasn't until after I had calmed down that I realized that nobody else probably heard that fart. And then I felt really guilty, because I'm sure at least the son, he was the farthest one away from me. He had to have thought that I was laughing at his pain. But you can't go back into a funeral and apologize for a misunderstanding like that. I hope to God none of you ever have to try that, because it's embarrassing. I can't walk up to him and say, no, I wasn't laughing at your mom being dead. I was laughing because your great aunt farted. It doesn't work that way. You have to cut your losses and go home. And I figured the best way to cope with that would be to let all of you laugh at my pain. And B, because if any of you have a wedding or a funeral coming up in the future that you absolutely want ruined, $50 and I'm yours. I don't even have to do anything. My mere presence at a social event will fuck it up through mere circumstance. And I feel it's fair to let all of you know that, in case any of you want to hire me to ruin any of your loved ones' days. So, it sounds like 3 or 4 people would do it. Yeah, we got to take her right there. Thursday? I really actually think you're serious. You go, okay. This isn't a motivational seminar. I'm just doing comedy. I'm not going to go ruin a funeral for you. Okay, that's probably a good place to leave off, isn't it? All right, well, nobody pissed that guy off. That guy has a grudge. All right, thanks everybody. Have a great night.